Good afternoon or good morning, everyone, depending upon from where you're joining us, and welcome to today's presentation entitled Sage Intacct Bank Reconciliation, brought to you by Ledgerable, a BTerrell company where we're in our 35th year of upgrading small and mid-sized general and specialty contractors from QuickBooks or a legacy on-premises construction management application to Sage Intacct Construction, the only construction accounting application ever named by the AICPA as their preferred provider of financial applications. I'm Brian Terrell, managing partner of Ledgerable, once again a B Terrell company. I'm assisting Ruby Ching with today's presentation. Ruby is a senior professional services team leader with 7 years of experience in mid-market construction, financial, and project management technology. I've heard Ruby present before, and you're in for a treat. But before we begin, a couple of housekeeping items. Our audio is off to minimize the invariable distractions that come from the dog barking or the doorbell ringing, but that does not mean we don't welcome your questions. We do, and you can text those to us using that Q&A toolbar in the Zoom application. And please remember, we're recording today's presentation so that you don't have to. You don't also have to take notes. However, we also want you to know that we'll send you the link to today's recording so that you can share it with colleagues at your company or peers in the construction industry who were unable to join us today. If you're here for the continuing professional education, today's presentation qualifies for 1 hour of continuing professional education because Ledgerable and BTerrell companies are certified as CPE sponsors by the Texas State Board of Public Accountancy. All we ask is that you respond to the polling questions that will pop up from time to time and complete our post-webinar evaluation form, which will be made available at the end of today's presentation. If you missed that, we'll send you a reminder to fill that out. And let's warm up today on those polling questions with an example question that will appear on your screen. Now, this question helps us recognize those in today's audience who will be looking forward to receiving CPE credit. It also helps us recognize who we can expect that CPE or post-webinar evaluation form from and be looking for that. So thank you for taking time to complete this important quick question, and it will be followed periodically throughout Ruby's presentation by 3 more CPE questions. Without any further delay, let's turn the screen over to Ruby, who is ready with what I know will be a very informative and helpful presentation. Ruby?
Thank you, Brian. And hello, everyone. And thank you, Brian, for the introduction. Hopefully, it will be a fun ride for you all today. As mentioned, my name is Ruby, and I'm excited to walk you through one of the most underrated but powerful tools in Sage Intacct, the bank reconciliation. Today's session is designed to not only show you how to reconcile in Sage Intacct, but more importantly, why it matters, and what you could be missing if you're still doing it manually or outside of your ERP system. We will also demonstrate how Sage Intacct automates and simplifies this process and show you how transaction imports and match rules can dramatically reduce your manual workload. And finally, we will dive into leveraging Sage Intacct's reconciliation tools and reports to close faster and improve cash visibility. By the end of this session, you will have a clear understanding of why reconciliation matters and how you can elevate your processes with Sage Intacct. And let's take a quick look here at our agenda. We will start with why bank reconciliation is so critical to the finance operations. We will then explore how Sage Intacct simplifies the process using automation, imports, and match rules. And we will wrap up with reporting and audit supports. And after that, I will walk you through a demo to show it all in action. And we will also have some time reserved for Q&A. Now, to kick things off, I'd like to get a sense of where everybody is at, on how are you currently doing the bank reconciliation. We have the options here where you do it manually in Excel, in Sage Intacct, manually in another ERP, don't know, or new to this. There really is no right or wrong answer here, as we're just trying to understand where everybody is at on their reconciliation journey. And we're also excited to the varieties of the answers that we're seeing coming in here. Because really, the beauty of today's session is that no matter where you fall on this spectrum, there's always room to grow. Whether you are looking into simplify the process, cutting down on manual effort, or gaining deeper insights into your cash flow. We're going to cover it all. Let's dive in. Now, no matter which option you have selected on your poll, we'd always want to start with the big picture. Why does bank reconciliation matter? Like I always have to like to say, reconciling your bank account is like flossing. Everybody knows they should do it, but not everyone actually does. And just like skipping flossing leads to cavities that your dentist has to painstakingly fix, skipping reconciliation leads to financial surprises that your auditors or CPAs have to untangle, and often at a much higher cost and stress level. I still remember the last time I had to be given anesthesia on a dentist chair, and trust me, that's one experience I do not wish to relive, let alone break my wallet and pay for. And speaking from the painful dental experiences, whether it is your teeth or your books, prevention is always better than cure. Reconciliation is your key internal control. Think about the basics. You have two sets of books when it comes to cash, your financial book and your bank statement. In a perfect world, we wouldn't be concerned with either of them, as they will always tie. I know I've had dreams like that before. However, we would not be so lucky. Our financial reality is filled with returned or lost checks, unsuccessful ACH deliveries, deposits in transit, bank fees, and all sorts of timing differences in general. And these issues form the surface layer of reconciliation complexities. And the waters grow muskier when you factor in the less predictable and often more detrimental occurrences, like unlawful withdrawals, bank errors, duplicative payments, etc. And each anomaly poses a risk to an organization's financial health that grows exponentially if left unchecked. And beyond the operational aspect, reconciliation contributes significantly to foster trust and accountability, as it provides a clear audit trail demonstrating who reviewed and approved transactions and when. So similar to the next time that you will have a dental appointment, you can proudly show your auditors and CPAs and all the other stakeholders that you have been taking good care of your book and your teeth with a big bright smile. At its core, bank reconciliation is a reality check. It ensures that the cash position reported in your books matches what's actually in the bank. And this process, it's not just about correcting discrepancies, but also about identifying patterns, preventing future errors, and establishing a reliable financial reporting system that the stakeholders can trust. Whether you're reconciling manually in Excel, using a third-party tool, or taking advantage of the advanced functionality directly within an ERP system like Sage Intacct. It needs to happen. Regular bank reconciliation is essential, even non-negotiable, to maintain your overall financial health. For instance, it can highlight recurring bank fees that may need renegotiating or uncover inefficiencies in your payment processes. Neglecting this step is like ignoring your physical health checkups, and small issues that go unaddressed can snowball into larger, costlier problems. And just like your dentist would probably also blow up your phone and hunt you down if you dare not to show up for one of your scheduled appointments, your auditors and CPAs need assurance that your books are in order to avoid any unpleasant surprises. Now, all jokes aside, let me just say the benefit of reconciliation far outweigh the effort it takes. Without bank reconciliation, you're flying blind when it comes to cash flow. You're exposed to undetected errors, or worse, fraud, and you risk delays in your month-end close. And let me give you an example. Let's say your AP team had accidentally cut a duplicated check to a vendor for $12,000. Now, the bank statement showed the check had cleared twice, but it wasn't until you performed the reconciliation that the issue was identified. By catching the error during the reconciliation, the team was able to void the second transaction and work with the bank and the vendor to recover the funds. Without the reconciliation, such oversights could easily go unnoticed, leaving the company $12,000 short. And over time, these small, even small undetected mistakes like this can add up, impacting cash flow and the organization's financial health stability. And this underscores why timely and accurate reconciliation is not only a best practice, but also a critical safeguard against preventable financial loss. Now, not all ERP systems include a native reconciliation tool. Too many surprises, actually. And this poses significant challenges for organizations trying to streamlining their financial processes. In such systems, the finance team often resort to external spreadsheets or bolt-on solutions, which not only increases the risk of errors, but also leads to inefficiencies and wasted time. Imagine trying to piece together a house with the mismatched materials and temporary fixes. While it might hold for a short time, the structural integrity is compromised, and the cracks inevitably begin to appear, jeopardizing the long-term stability. Relying on these outside tools is like putting your company's financial fate in someone else's hand, and that puts you and your book at a vulnerable position. And this brings us to the broader implication of the inadequate reconciliation practices and the challenges organizations face when the systems are not integrated. A disconnected system leads to duplicated works. When ERPs don't include built-in reconciliation tools, it forces teams to export GL data into Excel and manually match it to the bank statements. And this increases the workload and risk of human error. Additionally, a major drawback is the limited audit trail. When reconciliation is done outside of the ERP, there is no record of who cleared what, when, or why. And that's a red flag for the auditors and a challenge for your internal reviews. Moreover, without real-time visibility into available cash, you're facing reconciliation delays, meaning cash visibility lags behind your reality. For example, a CFO may see 1.2 million in their books, but the 200,000 of those hadn't cleared, and that could cause poor decision making. And these poor decisions can significantly impact the scalability of the businesses as the business grows. Manual reconciliation might be manageable with one bank account, but what happens if you have 10 accounts across 5 entities and each with 500 plus transactions per month? And if you think you're a Superman and still think, oh, I can manage this, what happens if you have 100 accounts, 1,000 accounts, or even more? Finally, increased risk of fraud or missed anomalies is yet another concern. If reconciliation is delayed or decentralized, errors and suspicious transactions go unnoticed longer, increasing financial exposure. And this is where the right tool makes all the differences. Instead of struggling with the disconnected systems and manual processes that hold your team back, imagine a solution that streamlines everything. One that not only eliminates these inefficiencies, but also empowers your organization to operate with clarity, speed, and confidence. And that's where Sage Intacct stands out. So now that we have talked about why reconciliation is necessary, let's talk about how Sage Intacct does it better. It has the built-in reconciliation tool, where it fully integrates with your general ledger and cash management, transforming how your organization handles financial transactions. You will have a plain, clear view into your cash management subledger, how it flows into your general ledger, and compares that with your bank statement transactions. It even offers integration directly to your bank. So you're no longer downloading those transactions for reconciliation anymore. And we're going to get into that more in a little bit. And that means you're no longer stitching together reports or exporting the data. You're working within a centralized, automated system that keeps everything aligned. Your bank transactions, general ledger, cash management, and audit trails are all part of the same ecosystem. When reconciliation is done right and done inside of your ERP, it becomes a powerful tool for confidence. When your reconciliation lives inside of the ERP and is tied directly to your general ledger, you can trust that what you see is accurate. There's no second guessing, no back and forth between the spreadsheets and statements, and whether you're presenting to the board, closing the book, or preparing for audit, Sage Intacct gives you the number you can stand behind. You also gain control over timing, approvals, and process. With a full audit trail, permissioned access, and real-time visibility, it is easier to manage financial risk and maintain compliance. You don't have to chase down explanations or recreate someone else's Excel logic. The system keeps your reconciliation process transparent and trackable. And, of course, speed. With bank feed, smart matching, batch clearing tools, you can reconcile hundreds of transactions in minutes instead of hours. And you don't have to wait for month-end close to identify issues. And that means faster close, better decision-making, and more time back in your team's day. But the real power here comes from automation, starting with the bank feed. Using Sage Intacct's bank feed is kind of like switching from hand washing dishes to use a dishwasher. Imagine standing over the sink for hours, scrubbing away a stubborn grease, while your favorite show is playing in the background, all without you. The dishwasher, on the other hand, lets you load up, press a button, and reclaim your evening. And that's Sage Intacct for you. It takes the manual, time-consuming core of manual reconciliation and turns it into an automated process that practically runs itself. Sure, you could keep scrubbing every transaction manually, or you could push a button and let the magic happen while you do literally anything else. Like finally catching up on that coffee you've been reheating since 8 a.m. Now, let's find out how often everyone is dealing this household core. Whether it is daily, weekly, monthly, or never. And again, we have no right or wrong answer here, but I will have to say, for those of you who are choosing monthly or never, I have a whole new level of respect for you and your household. Now, similarly to doing the dishes, where you want to wash it at least once a day. And if you're laid back, quote unquote, maybe once a week, to prevent your house from stinking and keep your spouse from yelling at you. And the same principle applies to your accounting books. You would want to keep your book clean and perform bank reconciliation at least once a day or once a week to prevent the stakeholders from yelling at you. And much like the piled up dirty dishes that cause chaos in the household, the buildup of your financial irregularities from neglecting this task cause chaos in your financial book. To foster harmony in your kitchen, you may even need to do the dishes multiple times a day. And you can also perform bank reconciliations multiple times a day as well, treating your book with the same meticulous care as someone who cleans every dishes immediately after use, like I always do. How, you ask? Well, Sage Intacct connects directly to your bank through a secured bank feed. And once that's enabled, transactions automatically flow into the system daily. There's no more downloading CSV files, trying to line things up manually. It will be a huge time saver. It helps your team to stay on top of cash movement throughout the month, and not just at month end. And here is how that helps you. You'll be working with real-time bank data, not yesterday's, not last week's statement. This ensures that your reconciliation process is always up to date. For example, if a large payment is received or an unexpected charge affects your balance, you can address them immediately rather than discovering it during the month-end reporting. Real-time updates empowers teams to make informed decisions quickly, enhancing cash flow management and minimizing financial risks. You can match transactions automatically using customizable match rules. And these rules can be tailored to fit your organization's unique requirements. For instance, you might set up a rule that automatically matches recurring expenses, such as monthly software subscriptions or aggregated utility payments, to corresponding entries in the general ledger. This eliminates the need for manual data sorting and reduces the chance of human error, saving both time and effort. You get to also spot discrepancies as they happen, not weeks later. Imagine a scenario where a supplier's invoice doesn't align with the payment recorded by the bank. With Sage Intacct, this irregularity is flagged immediately, enabling your team to investigate and resolve the issue before it compounds. Timely identification of discrepancies is crucial for maintaining financial accuracies and avoiding costly mistakes during the audits or board presentations. And again, this is all happening inside of your ERP. So you're not relying on any external tools, cutting and pasting data between the systems, or reconciling in Excel. Everything is on one screen. And say goodbye forever to your broken Excel formulas, or even switching back and forth between the screens from within your ERP to other tools. It is clean, auditable, and designed to support faster, more confident closes. And with this foundation in place, let's take a closer look at how Sage Intacct streamlines the reconciliation process in action. For today, we have prepared the demo in 3 folds. The first demo here focuses on the bank fee transaction within Sage Intacct. We will take a look at the bank fee transactions altogether and learn how to convert bank fee transaction into a book transaction seamlessly. This demo also includes matching transactions from the bank to those recorded in Sage Intacct. So we're starting off on the home screen of our demo environment. So we put this environment together for the demos here today. And we're going to navigate from the home screen into our menu to cash management module. And we're going to go ahead and go to bank transactions to see all of the transactions that are coming from the bank. So just a reminder, all of these transactions comes directly from the bank. We did not modify or change or actually create these transactions. Now, because this is a demo environment, we only hooked this one checking account in our environment to the bank feed in order to demonstrate the different ways of handling bank reconciliation. So here, you will see all of the transactions are coming from the same checking account. In reality, you will be able to see all of the transactions that are coming from all of your checking accounts. And the records here clearly indicates which account it's from, which bank it is from. So if you have multiple bank, that information is labeled here as well. It also shows the debit or credit of this transaction, meaning whether it's a withdrawal or a deposit. It also shows you the amount of these bank transactions and the payee information, meaning who are you paying and who is giving you the money, and if there's a description that came with the transaction. Now, it also showcases the reconciliation status. So here, you can see the status here are showing unmatched or matched. And let's take a look at one of the matched transaction here. So looking at this transaction, we can see all of the information on the top here is the bank transaction information. And the information at the bottom here are our book transaction information. So when you look at a certain transaction, you can compare against the information. Now let's also take a look at an unmatched transaction. Here, unlike the other ones, you will notice the matched transaction section is empty, meaning that it has not been matched with a book transaction. So after taking a look at this transaction, we will then navigate to a different place in order to see these transactions. So some people prefer to work off of a screen where everything is mushed together. And I personally prefer to work accounts by accounts. So this is also another place where you can see the bank fee transactions. So again, we're going to click on the bank transactions here, and it takes us to the same list that we just saw. And on this list, you will notice a few differences. So not only does it have all of the information from the bank, including the amount and the date, it also has some actionable links. So the match link here you can actually use this link to match the bank transactions here directly from the bank to the transactions that are already in your book. So you can even perform bank reconciliation as you go without even officially reconciling your account. And we also have an action link next to the match link here, where you get to convert these bank transactions directly from the bank into a book transaction if you have not already recorded that transaction in the book. So here we're looking at we're going to try an example. So here we're looking at this $36.99 transaction, and we do believe that it is an interest earned on this checking account. So we're going to click on interest earned link here and record it in our book. So on this screen, you can notice that a lot of the informations have been filled. So you don't need to key in all the informations here and go through the field one by one to fill out those information. We have the bank account, the date, the account, the amount, and the location, and even the description pre-filled by the system. And all we need to do is add in the department dimension, and then we are good to go. And the description here is going to be the same description that comes over from your bank. So let's go ahead and save that. And you will notice now that $36.99 transaction is disappeared from this list of bank fee transactions. So where did it go? So this is actually very neat. So if we change the state here from unmatched to matched, we can see that this transaction is now a matched transaction, meaning that when you're creating the transaction using the bank fee transaction that's directly from the bank, the system automatically matches the transaction that you created in the book. So talk about killing two birds using one stone, huh? So now you don't even have to go back to a reconciliation and match this transaction. Now, let's go into our official reconciliation. So here, we're going to select this checking account that we just saw. And you can notice some of the information here were already pre-filled for the demo. And then you will also notice that the bank fee status here is showing connected, meaning that this account is connected via bank feed. Now, on the top, we have some basic information for the reconciliation. Here on the top, you can see when this account has last been reconciled, what's the statement ending date that we're using for the reconciliation, when is the last bank feed that came over, and also whether the bank refresh data is success or not. So just a basic overview of your bank feed connection for the account. And in the middle here, the first thing you will notice is that it has two tabs. One for Intacct transactions and one for the bank transactions. And let's take a quick scroll here on the Intacct transactions. You will notice that there's not many transactions in the current year, and a lot of the transactions are from prior year. So that's just because we're pretty neglected on keeping our book, and we're trying to play catch up. And all of these has not been reconciled before. And on the bank side, looking at these transactions, you will notice they all comes in on 2025, meaning that we have finally got over some hurdles and ready to bring in those transactions into our book and make our book up to date. Now, so here on the bank side of the tab, you also have the action link and the match link, similarly to what we saw on the previous screen within the checking account. Again, you can convert these bank fee transactions into a Sage Intacct transaction and have it automatically matched. Since we have demoed that already, we're not going to do that here again. But instead, we're going to show how to match a transaction from the bank to the book if it exists on both sides. So we're going to start on the bank side, and then instead of doing the action link, we're going to do the match link. So here we are on the match transaction screen. It shows us where this transaction is coming from, what type of transaction it is, and how much it is for. So we're trying to match this 10,000 and some odd dollar amount. And in the middle section of the screen, we can see a list of our Sage Intacct transactions. So we'll need to find out which transactions we're going to match. And it is this one, the second one that's listed on here. Once we have checked the checkbox in front of this transaction, you will notice the remaining to match field is changed to 0, meaning that we have matched fully for this transaction's amount. And just taking a quick scroll of the page and make sure all the information looks okay before we go ahead and hit match. Now, immediately after the match, you will notice that this transaction has disappeared from the list yet again. And that's because it went into the matched transaction. So we're going to take a look from the matched list and see if it's there. Yep, and that's our transaction that we have just matched. And on the Intacct side, we also want to check and make sure the same thing happens. So we're going to click on match and see that second one is our transactions that we have matched. Now, so that's the end of showing you guys the bank fee transactions, how it converts, and also how to use them in bank reconciliations. Now that we have seen the bank feed, let's shift our focus to the next section, where we will dive deeper into importing bank transactions and applying customizable match rules. This demo explains the setup of the match rules and demonstrates how they can be applied to streamline reconciliation. You will also see how automatic matches are reviewed and how transactions imported via files are efficiently reconciled to the books. All right, so we're back on the home screen of our Sage Intacct demo environment here. And again, we're going to navigate to our cash management module. And instead of going into the All tab like we did in the last screen, we're going to go to the Setup tab and go to the Matching and Creation rules. So here we have already preset a couple rules here that are very simple in order to help with the demonstration. So let's take a quick look at one of these rules. So here are some basic information of this match rules on the top, and at the bottom, this is where our matching condition is showcased. So basically for this specific example, we're matching the field from a bank transaction to the fields on the Intacct transaction. And we're matching based on the posting date, document number, and amounts. So if all three of these criteria are met or accomplished, then the transaction gets automatically matched. In addition to the simple rules like this, you also can create more complex rules using this value field. So if there is an aggregated payments that you need to sort or group based on certain criteria, such as a certain string within your description, you can use the value field to create those complex rules that is specific to your business requirement. Now that we have taken a look at the match rules, next up, we're going to take a quick look at the account that we're trying to reconcile. So for this purpose, we're going to use the second checking account that we have in our system. And we have also pre-filled a lot of this information here. And you will also notice that the bank fee status here is showing not connected. Now let's go ahead and continue and take a quick look at this. Now, immediately looking at the reconciliation screen of this checking account, you will notice that unlike the other screen, it only has one tab that's for the Sage Intacct transactions. It does not have the tab for the bank transactions. That's because this account is not connected with bank feed, so it does not bring in the bank transactions automatically, and we haven't added the bank transactions via our import yet. So also taking a quick scroll of this account, we can see that a lot of our transactions are in 2023, meaning that we really don't have any transactions or recorded any transaction in the book since the year 2023. And for this account, we don't really have any transactions after 2023. And now we're just really trying to reconcile the account and close out the account. And unlike the other one, you can see there is a check number or document number column where this is going to be important to us as it is one of the matching criteria from our match rules. And before we go into the reconciliation, we want to check and make sure we're starting off from a clean slate. So we're going to check the matched transactions and make sure that there's nothing here. So that's great. And before we actually go into the reconciliation, there is one more thing we need to do. So here, looking at the bank transactions that we have pulled from our bank using a bank statement, converted into Excel, and put it into a Sage Intacct import template. This import template here is very easy to understand and simple. It has the posting date for their bank transactions, the transaction types, meaning the withdrawals or deposit, the way you are receiving or paying the money, ACH versus check, and your document number, the check number or ACH number, etc., and the payee information, meaning who are you paying, who is giving you the money, and how much that is for. So with all that information, we're going to import this file into Sage Intacct. Now, before we do that, we still need to complete one more task, and that is to add the checking account to use the simple rules that we have set up. So this is the rule set, and you can see it contains the 2 rules that we have already set up. And in the account tabs here, you can see we only had the first checking account to use the rule sets here. So in order to make things fair, we're going to add our second checking account to also enjoy using this rule. Now that we have added that, we will go ahead and save this and start our reconciliation using the import file. Again, instead of continue, we're going to use the import link here and then select the file that we just saw. Now, you don't even need to wait until the status shows complete in order to proceed. So we're just going to hit done here and hit continue on the next screen. And now you can also see there is an applied rule set here telling you which rule set that you have applied to this specific reconciliation. And once we hit continue, let's just wait, step back, and wait for the magic to happen. Voila. First thing first, you will notice now is instead of just having the Intacct Transaction tab, we also now have the Bank tab. And unlike the screen that we have seen a minute ago, instead of list of transactions, there's only now one transaction left. And that's actually our outstanding item, meaning that we have recorded this transaction in the book on the last day of the month, and it's likely that bank did not capture that in the current month's statement. And we also want to check on the bank side as well to see if it all cleared. So if we go to the bank tab, we will see that all of the transactions here are gone as well, meaning that all of the imported transactions are now matched. use it by the rules. And we're going to check on the status of the match transactions and make sure these are the ones that we imported. And it looks like they are. And if we look at the action link here, you will notice that the functions here are all grayed out because these transactions are already matched. So you can no longer convert them into book transactions in order to prevent duplicate bookings. And we also want to do the same thing on our Intacct side and make sure the correct ones are all matched. So we're going to change the state to matched once more, and then take a look at the ones that are already matched. Now, if you notice that you have done something incorrectly and want to go back and investigate and rematch certain things, you can simply check the checkbox in front of your transaction and click Unmatched Transactions. And that will kick the transaction back from the matched screen into the unmatched screen. But we don't want to do that here because we have everything correctly matched. As indicated by this amount to reconcile field, when it's 0, that means we're ready to reconcile. So just take one other look at all of the informations here, and then we're going to go ahead and hit the reconcile button and see what happens. So let's go ahead and click on the reconcile. It will take a minute for the system to process, but once it's done, it should bring up a pop-up box indicating that you have successfully reconciled the account. So yay! So with a deeper understanding of importing transactions and applying the match rules, let's now shift our focus to the final segment of today's demo, highlighting the powerful reporting and audit support features. This section will bring everything together and showcasing how Sage Intacct ensures transparency, compliance, and confidence in your financial reporting. You will see how reconciliation summaries provide a clear overview of the financial state and how exceptions are handled effectively, as well as some of the powerful reports that can be utilized to further enhance your experience with Sage Intacct reconciliation. Now, we're once again at the home screen of our demo environment. And once again, we're going to use the menu dropdown in order to navigate to bank cash management. And instead of going into the bank reconciliation, we're going to go view reconciliation histories. And this is a screen where it will have all of your reconciliations. So if you're doing it once a month, you will have 12 records of the reconciliation here. And it will clearly indicate which checking account it is coming from, which bank it is coming from, and what date it has been reconciled for how much. And in addition to that, there are a couple more helpful links. So we also have the link for the reconciliation report, where you can bring up either a CSV, Excel, or PDF report. So let's take a quick look at the PDF report here. It will have the summarized information on the top, where it tells you how much it is in the bank and how much it is in the book and what's the difference. And at the bottom, it will give you the checks that are cleared and also the deposits that are cleared. And in addition to that, it will give you the details of each individual transactions. So all the information you need is all in one place, as well as the ones that didn't clear. So other than our reconciliation report, we also have the outstanding item report. And similar to that, we have the option to get Excel, CSV, and PDF reports. And this one is similar, but great for troubleshooting, as it also gives you the total in your bank versus the amount in your book, and the difference is the outstanding ones. So we can clearly see the one transaction that didn't get matched in our previous demo is showing up here as the outstanding item. Now, other than the outstanding item report and the reconciliation report, we also have a link to reopen the reconciliation. So if 2 months later you realize that, this transaction was recorded incorrectly and you need to go back and fix something in your reconciliation, this link is that for you. So if you click on the reopen option, it will ask you whether you really want to reopen your reconciliation, because it is a big decision. If you click OK, everything we did will go back to unmatched status again. So we don't want to do that here, but it's great to have options in order for the prior mistakes. And other than these, you also have a link in order to attach documents. So if you recall, we also have an attachment field during the reconciliation. However, if you forgot to add the attachment during a reconciliation, you still get the option to add that here, so that all the evidence you need for your reconciliation, from the bank transactions, bank statement, to your book transactions, is all in one place. And whoever asking you for that information is going to be able to see them in a centralized location. Now, other than these helpful tools from the reconciliation history, we're also going to take a look at a report that has helpful informations. And we're going to run the bank register report and using inception to date for viewing purposes. And we're going to select the reconciled account that we just saw in our second demo. And for this report, you have the option to view the report, to filter the report by their reconcile status. So you can see all of the transactions, or if you want to troubleshoot, you can see just the ones that has not been reconciled. You also have the options to see all of the reconciled transactions. So now we'll leave it on all and take a quick look at this report. So unlike some of the other reports in the system, you will notice there is a cleared column where this indicates when this transaction has been cleared through a reconciliation. And if we scroll down to the very bottom, we can see the outstanding items that we had in our current reconciliation is showing in transit. Now, you can print this report into a PDF format or send it to an email to a coworker who also needs to see this report, and add it to a dashboard if you use dashboard, or export it to Excel or CSV version. Now, this concludes the demo portion of our session today. Of course, what you're seeing today in this demo here is only a tip of the iceberg. And there's so much more Sage Intacct can add and offer and will offer beyond what just shown today. Now that we have seen everything, before we close things out, let's do one last quick poll. Based on everything you have seen today, what features would improve your current reconciliation process the most? The automatic bank feeds, the matching rules, the import bank transactions, or all of the above? If you have picked all of the above, you're not alone. And that's what makes Sage Intacct such a powerful solution, that it brings all these capabilities together natively inside of your ERP. Now, looking back at the learning objectives for today's session, we have set out and hopefully have accomplished to help you understand why integrated reconciliation is critical to the modern finance. Recognize the risk of doing it outside of your ERP. Learn how automation, imports, and match rules reduce manual work, and see how the right tools lead to faster closes, cleaner audits, and better cash visibility. In short, Sage Intacct gives you the confidence to trust your numbers, the control to manage your process, and the speed to move your business forward. Thank you again for spending the time with us today. And if you're ready to leave manual reconciliation behind or want help figuring out what's next, we're here to support you. Now I will give the floor back to Brian for some upcoming presentations and webinar information.
Thanks, Ruby, for a great presentation. Are you by the way available for a couple of quick questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so now's the time to submit questions for Ruby by using that Q&A button in the Zoom toolbar. And while you do that, let me just do a bit of quick advertising for other quality presentations available. You see a couple of there on the screen. The first one is called Accelerating the Financial Close Automation Today, AI Tomorrow. Then changing technology, creative disruption, and the accounting profession thriving in a blockchain economy. And then that last presentation entitled Prosperity Through Recurring Revenue, Unleashing the Power of the Subscription Economy. I believe all of these presentations speak to construction back office professionals or CPA firm professionals, those that are members of the Texas CPA Society or CFMA local chapters, and we're all always available to address those groups. Also, next month's webinar will focus on Sage Intacct Real Estate, which is the Sage Intacct module providing real estate property portfolio management. You see a QR code there on the left-hand window in order for you to pre-register for that. And then on the right-hand window is July's webinar from our friends at ADP for a look at Sage Intacct Construction Payroll powered by ADP. That QR code is also available for pre-registration. A couple of quick questions, Ruby, right off the bat. And one I'm going to help you with right off the bat. Which Canadian banks are currently working for the bank feed function? While you were working hard on the presentation, I was working hard on getting the answer to that question. And if I navigate in the application to cash management, set up accounts, and then select my checking account, go to the banking cloud tab and click connect, I can then select for a country. And when I select for Canada, I see that the Bank of Montreal, CIBC, Scotiabank, Canada, TD Canada Trust, ATB, Online Personal, the Royal Bank of Canada, and Tangerine are all supported. Uh, here's another quick question. Can we have the recording for this session? And absolutely, as you know, we'll be sending out a link for that shortly after the presentation wraps up. We've got a couple more minutes. There is a question here, Ruby. Does this solution have its own access to bank feeds, or does it use the Sage solutions, which include Plaid or FiSpan or AccessPay? I will interject here that it's a mixture of the two. There are some direct bank feeds that have been developed by Sage to major banks, and then it's using some of these other sources for the others. But many major banks are supported. Here's a good question for you, Ruby. What if I discover a mistake today in a reconciliation from last year? You showed us how to fix one from a couple of months ago. What about last year?
Similarly to the ones that I showed you in the demo, you still can go back in history to reopen your bank reconciliation from even last year or even like a few years ago in order to correct the mistakes that you found. So there would not have been an issue.
Okay, here's a great question. Can you elaborate on the document number under the matching condition? Is that the check number or something else?
That's the check number. There's also sometimes ACH numbers that the bank might have. So if you record the transaction in your book using the same document number, then under the match rule, this transaction gets to be matched automatically and clear in your reconciliation.
Excellent. Excellent job, Ruby. And thank you to those behind the scenes that helped us prepare and deliver today's presentation. Remember to join us next month for Sage Intacct Real Estate and a look at the customer or tenant portal that's available there. Until then, have a good day.